Hold on. All right. So I made a whole video yesterday talking about the reptilians and the reptilian infiltration in the United Kingdom, right? And I have some difficulties with uploading my video to my computer to edit, and I can't release the video unedited because the format won't make sense, if that makes sense. So really, I'm like, in my brain, I'm just like, what can I do to still get the information out there? So I've read the article twice now. Actually, I think this was my third time yesterday, because it's a lot to really take in. Like, you really have to read it over and over to get the full extent of the article. The interviewee was interviewing a close friend of Princess Diana and her experiences according to her friend. So Diana's experiences according to her friend in regards to the royal family. She even went as far as mentioning that the royal family are not human, that they're reptiles or reptilian. And I just feel like it's just enough compelling evidence at this point when we look around society. You know, we got 9 billion people that are populating this planet, or 8 billion. And those are just the people that are documented. You know what I'm saying? There's so many people that are undocumented and existing here in this realm with us. And I think it's just so important to note that you got to open yourself up to the possibility that it's not just terrestrial life that we know existing here with us. That is the possibility that it's outer terrestrial life existing here with us as well. And that's very plausible. You know, one thing that I really want to note is that when you really get into like Antarctica and really thinking about, okay, say the earth doesn't look like how we've been indoctrinated to believe it looks, and it is actually way more vast than they tell us it is, and they're harvesting our energies and our resources here. You understand what I'm saying? Our gold, they've been mining our gold for centuries. You know what I'm saying? Alongside other resources, oil, all of that stuff. And it just makes you wonder, you know? If you think about Earth being hijacked by who and for what? I believe that the indigenous people were hijacked. 9 ether beings were hijacked. The ones that were really native to these lands. They don't tell us our true history. That's why I don't adopt Egyptology just because it's popular to do so. I believe that Egyptians were advanced technologically, spiritually. They were really in harmony with the earth's resonance and natural cyclical, behaviors like our solstices, our seasons, celestial things as well, as far as celestial goes, because we don't know what exists beyond the firmament truly, in accordance to what we've been taught. I believe that all of the answers are within us, but it's just hard to reference things that we've been allowed to know in the public knowledge as truth. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like, unfortunately, a lot of us indigenous Americans will look to Africa as our homeland because it turns an eye away from the fact that we are already home here. So it's really a slap in the face for them to tell us to go back home, not only on the precedent that following your narrative, you brought us here, but under the premise that we are already home. There is no other home to go back to. To me, the Americas, so that would include North America as a whole, Central America, the Caribbean, and South America, it's a very mystical land. You know what I'm saying? We have various remnants of our ancient world left that they weren't able to fully extricate, if that's the proper word. And you know, you could reference movies like Avatar. I really love that movie because I feel as though science fiction is really nonfiction, and nonfiction is really fiction. Sci-fi doesn't exist. It's really science nonfiction, and it's really not science. It's just esoteric nonfiction. Because I look at, like I said, Avatar, we had our ancient trees of life, and they're scattered around our whole terrestrial plane that we know as Earth. And it's just like, all we have left is what's left of it, the carnage of their destruction. Who are they? I venture to say the 13 royal bloodlines vastly consist of reptilians. What I was mentioning in the video yesterday about the royal family is just that, first of all, they all inbred, right? That's pretty common knowledge. Why did they inbreed? It's because they wanted to keep the blood in their family, that royalty in their family. It was inbred all the way down to Diana. It's inbred all the way down to Meghan Markle and Prince Harry today. They're all related. They're distant relatives of one another. They carry the bloodline of it. And if they are not the reptilians themselves, they are the hybrids of them. And, you know, biblically, I'm not very versed, but what I do know is the Nephilim, which was the fallen breeding with human, I would venture to say that the fallen representation, let's play devil's advocate and say, okay, the fallen is the reptilian species, and breeding with variations of mankind produces some type of hybrid, right? The Nephilim was described as having orange-ish, reddish hair, blue eyes, and Arizona Wilder was widely discussed. Arizona Wilder was widely discussed in the article. And she was really prominent in a lot of SRA rituals, because I don't know YouTube's guidelines. And in those rituals, she was deemed the mother goddess. So she held a very high role.
That they're kidnapping and bringing in from other countries, and no one misses them because these are third world countries, and children they have the most energy, the purest energy, they're the highest form of sacrifice. They are used as actual blood sacrifices during these rituals because of, again, reptilians needing their blood. The blood will be gathered in a goblet, and it will be dispersed among the reptilians. There are things happening every month of the year.
What happens on the night of Halloween?
That night is about the worship and homage to Satan, the great deceiver Satan, on that night, on Halloween, at this church. I have seen at rituals, I have seen George Bush, I have seen Hillary Clinton, before I knew she was Hillary Clinton at the time, at these rituals. She is involved. J. Rockefeller, and he shapeshifts. These people seem to all be connected to the Illuminati, and then they have these children.
And it's just crazy because she endured a lot of MK Ultra, so Monarch programming. Her handlers were of German origin. So you could imagine they were Nazi scientists that, after their studies were done in the concentration camps, some scientists were brought to the Americas, and they continued their studies and research and implemented certain programmings that they developed in Germany here. And in that, she was one of the subjects of the programming. I believe she was programmed by a man named Pindar, and this man would torture her. You know, that's part of the programming. And if you're interested in monarch programming and Black Queen programming, there's so many various different programming that exists. I will try my best to find her video interview that she did with David Icke. Such a compelling video, and she goes into much greater detail than obviously this brief rundown of her experiences as the Mother Goddess and the certain prominent figures she encountered while performing these SRAs. Or not SRAs, but SRs. So again, tying it back to the royal family, the royal family was performing a ritual with Princess Diana 7 days, the first 7 days of July. And when I looked into it, because the author left the description, it was called the oak tree ceremony or something like that. When I looked into it, I found that the oak tree ceremony, if that's what it's called, but it is regarding oak trees, it's an ancient druidic practice. Now, druids were shamans. They have a brotherhood called the Ancient Order of the Druids. It's very prominent in the British Order of Druids. The princess at the time, but now queen, deceased, was initiated into that order. And there is footage of her initiation, partly, obviously. You can't show the whole footage.
Erected for the national Eisteddfod of Wales. To the ancient ceremonial and the age-long traditions of the bards is added a new note. Princess Elizabeth becomes an honorary bard. In the same valley, a few hundred yards away, are the pits and colliery villages of Wales, but here for a little while, the past and the present meet. Wearing the emerald green robe of the novitiate, the princess's name is added to the roll of bards.
Elizabeth of Windsor.
But as I was saying, the Druids are shamans, which are just natural healers. They had the ability to heal. They had the ability to also induce insanity as well. So you had that duality. They were very attuned with the earth and its cycles. And they used that to their advantage. They would perform a lot of rituals within the oak trees or surrounding the oak trees. These rituals would be, the article only mentioned animal sacrifices, but we could imagine, the ancient order of the Druids partake in much more human sacrifice as well, and they would use the blood of their sacrifices to fertilize that oak tree. So anything that the oak tree bear after that sacrifice has been made, to them was significant of being from the gods. You understand what I'm saying? They use the oak bark to kind of communicate with their gods, and it's just very involved, and it's a very developed sect and order. They